Well, hiya, BookTube. Bill Ruttenberg here with the Ruttenberg Library. Wanted to come to you with a video on 4 new books that I picked up while going out on a birthday adventure. And it was my sister-in-law's birthday on Wednesday, and so we went shopping afterwards and stopped at a couple of bookstores. I was being very, very picky. I found a whole bunch of what looked to be very, very good World War II titles, and I had some self-control and did not buy them. How do you like that? I thought I was pretty proud of myself. My wife's really been on me about shuffling books out of the library as they come in. You would think that she watched that video by Michael K. Vaughan on having too many books. You would think that they are in cahoots. Michael K. Vaughan, I blame you for this. Thanks a lot. But anyway, I wanted to show you those 4 new books. And, I also want to reassure you, BookTube, even though I have got lots of books in the library, always have books coming in, or I try to anyway, you have no fear. I will not die in an avalanche of books like other booktubers that I have seen out there. Have no fear. Michael K. Vaughan said the lady of the manor will not allow it in his house. Well, the lady of my house, the lady of the castle, whatever you want to call this place, she won't allow it either. She makes sure that I try to keep things cleaned out, and she limits my numbers on books that I would buy. Otherwise, I probably would die in an avalanche of books. But anyway, so let me show you some of the titles that I found. First of all, we stopped at the Jesse James Antique Mall, and I found, let's see, let me get them in order here. The Jesse James Antique Mall, I found the Douglas Southall Freeman biography, Lee. Now this is originally, so let me read the little deal here. It says, an abridgment by Richard Harwell of the Pulitzer Prize winning 4-volume biography. I do not have the 4-volume biography. I don't know that I've ever saw it at any of my used bookstores. Would like to have it just for my Civil War library. But this is an abridgment, and I'm okay with that right at the moment. I will eventually try to find the original 4 of those. But this is an abridgment. It has James McPherson with writing the foreword, so I'm pretty excited to read what he had to say. And this is from Touchstone Books, published by Simon & Schuster. And this copy is a 1997. What I really like about this is it matches. I have Douglas Southall Freeman's book on George Washington, and it matches that, the look of the book, and so I'm pretty excited about that. This will go with my Civil War studies, my recent studies on Robert E. Lee, and I'd like to see what Freeman had to say on that. And the second book that I got at the Antique Mall was a book by Max Hastings. Now, as many of you know, I will be doing a buddy read. Oh, the book's buried back here. It's Catastrophe, 1914. It's about the beginnings of World War I by Max Hastings. I'm going to be doing a buddy read with Peg over at the History Shelf in the near future on that. And everywhere I look, I always see Max Hastings as the guy for military history, readable military history. And so I was going to do that. And so when I was out and about, I found this book, Armageddon, The Battle for Germany, 1944 to 45 by Max Hastings. So I'm real excited. I'm hoping I will find the book Overlord by him. I'm hoping I will find that. But found this book and was real excited to add that to my collection. It is from Alfred A. Knopf out of New York, and it's a 2004 book, and I'll read the inside cover for you. It says, Armageddon is the epic story of the last 8 months of World War II in Europe by Max Hastings, one of Britain's most highly regarded military historians, whose accounts of past battles John Keegan has described as worthy to stand with that of the best journalists and writers. You know, and John Keegan being the author that he is, that's pretty high acclaim. In September 1944, the Allies believed that Hitler's army was beaten and expected that the war would be over by Christmas. But the disastrous Allied airborne landing in Holland, American setbacks on the German border, and the Herdingen Forest, together with the bitter Battle of the Bulge, drastically altered that timetable. Hastings tells the story of both the Eastern and Western fronts and paints a vivid portrait of the Red Army's onslaught on Hitler's empire. He has searched the archives of major combatants and interviewed 170 survivors to give us an unprecedented understanding of how the great battles were fought and of their human impact on American, British, German, and Russian soldiers and civilians. Hastings raises provocative questions. Were the Western Allied cause and campaign compromised by a desire to get the Soviets to do the most of the fighting? Why were the Russians and Germans more effective soldiers than the Americans and British? And why did the bombing of Germany's cities continue until the last weeks of the war, when it could no longer influence the outcome? Why did the Germans prove more fanatical foes than the Japanese, fighting to the bitter end? This book also contains vivid portraits of Stalin, Churchill, Eisenhower, Montgomery, and the giants of the struggle. The crucial final months of the 20th century's greatest global conflict come alive in this rousing and revelatory chronicle. And so I am very excited to have this. It's a nice hardback copy, and I've never read Hastings, but everybody recommends him, so that's going to be awesome. So the next store that I stopped at, and I did well, I only picked up 2 books at this store. It was Books Revisited, and that's a nice little book chain that's connected to the library there. And lo and behold, guess what I found on the shelf? Another Max Hastings book, a former library copy here, but that's okay with me. It's called Retribution, The Battle for Japan, 1944 and 45. So it's almost like it was meant to be. But anyway, I was really happy to find this copy. Another World War II book. And again, this is from Alfred A. Knopf out of New York. This is a 2008 book, and let me read the cover of this one for you. It says, hailed in Britain as spectacular, searingly powerful, a riveting, impeccably informed chronicle of the final year of the Pacific War. In his critically acclaimed Armageddon, Max Hastings detailed the last 12 months of the struggle for Germany. Here, in what can be considered a companion volume, he covers the horrific story of the war against Japan. By the summer of 1944, it was clear that Japan's defeat was inevitable. But how the drive to victory would be achieved remained to be seen. The ensuing drama that ended in Japan's utter devastation was acted out across the vast stage of Asia, with massive clashes of naval and air forces fighting through jungles and barbarities by an apparently incomprehensible foe. In recounting the saga of this time and place, Hastings gives us incisive portraits of the theater's key figures: MacArthur, Nimitz, Mountbatten, Chiang Kai-shek, Mao, Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin. But he is equally adept in his portrayals of the ordinary soldiers and sailors, American, British, Russian, Chinese, and Japanese, caught in some of the world's bloodiest campaigns. With unprecedented insight, Hastings discusses Japan's war against China, now all but forgotten in the West, MacArthur's follies in the Philippines, and the Marines at Iwo Jima and Okinawa, and the Soviet blitzkrieg in Manchuria. He analyzes the decision-making process that led to the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which he convincingly argues ultimately saved lives. Finally, he delves into the Japanese wartime mindset, which caused an otherwise civilized society to carry out atrocities that haunt the nation to this day. Retribution is a brilliant telling of an epic conflict from a master military historian at the height of his powers. So again, we got both of those books. Those are going to be nice companion novels, as they said. And the last book in the book haul that I got was a Ken Follett book. Now, as many of you know, I've been reading his Century Trilogy series. Got the first 2 volumes, got to get the 3rd one read, but I've loved them. And I have been looking for his, was it Pillars of Fire? Is that the name of the series? Anyway, it's the one on the medieval castle that was, or church, excuse me, the medieval church that was being built. And I want to read that series. That's the one everybody says you need to go back to. Now, Medieval Times isn't my cup of tea necessarily, but he's a good enough writer to make it so. And so every time I've went for the last couple months to Books Revisited, I have been checking to see if there's any Ken Follett books there. I hopefully will find some hardback versions, but big floppy paperback would be nice. But I did find this Ken Follett book instead. It's called A Dangerous Fortune. And so nice trade paperback there. I am looking forward to reading this. I really don't know much about the book. I'd never heard of it. I just saw Ken Follett's name, and Ken Follett's a good enough writer that I trust his name alone. And so let me read the back if you're not familiar with this book. It says, A Dangerous Fortune. In 1866, tragedy strikes at the exclusive Winfield School. A young student drowns in a mysterious accident involving a small circle of boys. The drowning and its aftermath initiates a spiraling circle of treachery that will span 3 decades and entwine many lives. From the exclusive men's clubs and brothels that cater to every dark desire of London's upper classes to the dazzling ballrooms and the mahogany-paneled suites of the manipulators of the world's wealth, Ken Follett conjures up a stunning array of contrasts. His breathtaking novel portrays a family splintered by lust, bound by a shared legacy, men and women swept toward a perilous climax where greed, fed by the shocking truth of a boy's death, must be stopped. Not just one man's dreams, but those of a nation will die. So I'm really excited about that because one of the biggest things that I found in Ken Follett's book is he does a really good job of showing the differences in society of the social classes. And in that trilogy series, he's hit on the rich, but he's really hit on the poor and lower class as well. And I've enjoyed reading that and him showing those contrasts. So it sounds like this one's going to hit more of the rich. And so I'm excited to see what he's going to do with that. So anyway, BookTube, those are 4 new books that I picked up that I'm pretty excited about. What do you think? Have you read them? Tell me what you think about them. Are they good? Are they bad? Are they, whatever you want to tell me about them. So, I hope everyone's having a great day. Weather's beautiful here in Iowa. So until next time, I'm going to go get some reading done. So happy reading.